have joined us on Market Cafe today morning. I'm Ashesha Advaryu. With me is Kanishka Sarkar joining us from our Delhi studio. And big announcement coming in yet again today, where US President Donald Trump yesterday said he will be levying additional 25% tariff on India, totaling to about 50% now. We'll try and decode that. The sector is likely to be impacted in greater detail. But Kanishka, let's get started.
Absolutely, Ashisha. Very good morning to you. And let's get to the top story first of all. Now, India's Russian oil purchases have landed it in Donald Trump's firing line. Now, despite the fact that Russian crude isn't under sanctions, the US president has slammed India for fueling Putin's war machine, slapping an additional 25% tariff on Indian goods, hiking the total duties to 50% now. And Trump says that more countries could face similar scrutiny. In an executive order, he has accused India of directly or indirectly buying Russian oil and directed his team to investigate other nations doing the same. Now, India did hit back, calling the tariffs unfair, unjustified and unreasonable, stressing its crude purchases are driven by market forces, not geopolitics, and are vital for the energy security of its citizens.
As you know, we put a 50% tariff on India. On oil, they're the second largest. They're very close to China in terms of the purchase of oil from Russia. But so I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But we've had very productive talks today. Yes, ma'am.
If you do reach a deal with Ukraine and Russia, would you drop the additional tariffs on India?
Well, we'll determine that later. But right now, they're paying a 50% tariff. It's only been 8 hours. So let's see what happens over the next.
Sanctions
you're going to see a lot more.
So this is a taste of.
You're going to see a lot more. You're going to see so much secondary sanctions. Yes, ma'am.
Keeping that 10 to 12-day deadline that you had given Russia after today's talks?
Yeah, we're pretty much getting close to it right now. But we're having very serious talks right now about getting out of Ukraine, getting it settled, getting it ended. Should have never started. Would have never started. If I were president, it would have never started.
All right, so that's the latest word coming from Donald Trump. But moving on, my colleague Sumita Karish has been tracking the tariff story since day one, and she's now joining us with more perspective in India's response and what it means for trade ties between US and India.
That's right. The White House has announced that it's imposing an additional 25% tariff on India, bringing the total levies against the major United States trading partner to 50%. President Donald Trump said in an executive order, and I quote, that I find the government of India is currently or directly or indirectly importing Russian oil federation. Well, India once again has hid out and it has reacted. The MEA has in a statement stated that the United States has in recent days targeted India's oil imports from Russia. We have already made our position clear on these issues, including the fact that our imports are based on market factors and are done with the overall objective of ensuring energy security of 1.4 billion people of India. It also states that it is extremely unfortunate that the United States should choose to impose additional tariffs on India for actions that several other countries are also taking in their own national interest. The statement states that India reiterates that these actions are unfair, unjustified and unreasonable, and India will take all necessary actions to protect its national interest. In fact, it now remains to be seen what steps the government of India is going to take to protect its domestic industry and what happens to the talks that were slated to happen on August the 25th, when a team from the United States is expected to come for negotiations. But definitely, this tariff story has assumed a geopolitical dimension as well. So, of course, these talks are going to be complex. And whether a deal is arrived at by the fall of this year, that remains to be seen.
All right, so all eyes on what comes out of, the US delegation, which is expected to come in to India on August 25th and take the talks from there. But moving on, now, while both sides, they continue to trade barbs and point fingers at each other for depending on Russian resources, let's understand how much